In this session, we're going to be talking about the new GA4 comparisons. I'm Fred Pike for CXL. There's a new ability in Google Analytics 4 to add comparisons to reports. You can think of this change as a way to create a segment of users and to save that segment. And that's the really important part, that you can save the segment or comparison. If we look at how things were set up before, we are currently in the Google Merchandise Shop, you could add a comparison either through up here or through the Edit Comparison icon. And let's create a comparison which we will use throughout this little session. Our comparison or our segment is the traffic that comes from the US or Canada that comes organically. So that's what we've just created. You can see the difference between all the traffic to this website and the organic traffic from the US and Canada. Great, so that's useful. One other thing that is really useful that a lot of people didn't know about is that if you click on the Explore button down here within the Edit Comparison section, that will open this report in an exploration so you can dive into it a little bit further. And that's a great little feature that was kind of hidden in GA4. Now let's look at an account that has the new comparisons built in. We still have our add comparison, but now we have two new icons, an edit comparison and export this report to analysis. And that's what exports this report directly into explorations. So you no longer have to dig through the menus to add the report to explorations. It's pulled out directly into the UI, which is great. A small little change, but I really like it. But let's go ahead and edit a comparison. You'll see that this looks different in that there's already a set of comparisons showing up. We didn't have that before. And I really do think it's easier to think of these as a segment of users that you have saved. So thank you, Google, for bringing back something that we had before, but I'm glad we have it again. Let's create a new one. Let's create that same one, the countries and the organic traffic. Great. Traffic from the US or Canada that came in organically. Let's save this. That's rather a verbose way of saying it, but let's just say, now it's been added on the top in the filter row, in the comparison row. We see the comparison in the table, and if we go to another report, it'll still show up here, but it's not live. You have to enable it again. That is a change that Google made a while ago. This used to be sticky and it would go across all reports. Now they turn it off when you go from report to report, but you can easily turn it back on again, which is really nice. I like that. That's another good UI, I think. So where does this show up and how do you know if it's in your property? There's two different ways of telling. First, as I said, the icons over here will look different than the icons in the standard report, or in the existing, the old way, let's say. The other way is through admin. Under data display, you're going to have comparisons. This is new. We didn't have that before. If you go to the comparisons, you see that same list that we saw. These are all the pre-built ones. This is the one we just added. And you could, of course, create a new one with your choice of dimensions and the values for those dimensions. It's important to recognize that this is not metrics, this is values, so the different types of countries, different types of traffic, etc. I've been using the term segment, and you may think, wow, does that mean that that is now going to show up in the explorations as a segment? Oh, I wish that were the case. But let's go into explorations, let's do a new one. Here are the segments that you get to either choose or build. And none of these, unfortunately, go against those comparisons that we just built. So there's still that limitation within explorations that you can't create a segment and then call up that same segment in another exploration. You still have to rebuild that segment in that other exploration. I'm hoping that that might change over time. But in the meantime, we do have a new way to deal with comparisons. Call up the one that I had created before, apply it, and it shows up right away. This is a nice little change. I do like it, and I particularly like the way this has been called out into the UI now. A lot of people I don't think even knew that you could open one of these reports in explorations, but you can. That's it for this session. Again, this is Fred Pike for CXL.